Okay.
To Monday morning when he disappeared overnight, thought to have left barefoot and with a flashlight, and then was reported missing by his mother, who he was with that night at that home, and since then, not a trace. And so what I wanted to try to do here is just give you the latest of what I know about the case. There are a lot of rumors, a lot of scenarios out there on social media, which is fine because it keeps his name out there. But what I'm dealing with here is basically what I know to be factual, what I know, not my assumptions, not what I think, but more along the lines of what I've been told from those who are very close to the investigation. So who am I getting this information from that I'm going to be sharing with you the basics today? The information I'm getting from where I have had direct contact within just the past week, checking back in with them, is Eric Craddock, who is the sheriff of Sumner County, okay, who from the beginning has headed up this investigation there in Sumner County. He was not the sheriff at the time that this happened, but has since become the sheriff. He heads it up. So Eric Craddock, spoken with him directly. All right. Ken Widener, who's the director of Sumner County EMA. He's not so much as an investigator, but he's in charge of every time a tip comes in of going out and searching and tracking down to see if there's anything to it. They respond. They're the emergency crews that go out and respond to that. And then I've also talked and had close contact with the man who would be involved if this ever becomes criminal, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but that is the District Attorney Ray Whitley, who stays very close contact with investigators, including, I'll mention who else I've been in contact with, some sources within the TBI who are involved in this case. But Ray Whitley is the District Attorney. He meets and talks weekly with investigators, standing by, wants to know what's going on, what the latest is with all of that. That's where my information is coming from. Of course, I talked to some other people close to the case, people in the neighborhood, people like this who have been at candlelight vigils, the like. At one time or another, I've had contact with Sebastian's parents, but have not had any contact with them recently. They've certainly done a lot of interviews over the past year, not only on TV, but on social media. So you've heard from them as well. So that's where I'm coming from. And I know there may be some people out there that say, well, Nick, we just don't believe in law enforcement. We're not going to put our stake in law enforcement. Where's the FBI? Well, the FBI is involved to a degree that they are behind a $50,000 reward for Sebastian. I'm just looking for the latest on that. They're asking for tips to be sent to them, but also specifically to 1-800-TBI-FIND. But look, there are people that say, well, we don't have faith in law enforcement to continue this investigation. They haven't broken it after a year. Look, if you've followed missing children cases in the past, and I've covered sadly enough of them, these are not easy cases to solve. And I've followed many investigations in my career. And frankly, there have been some over the years that I felt they kind of dropped the ball on this. They haven't done everything they could do. As far as I can tell, and no one's telling me to do this, I have no stake in this except I want Sebastian found safe and sound. As far as I can tell, law enforcement from the very beginning, with the search and everything else, did this textbook and used every resource that they possibly could, and they continue to do so. So if there's people out there say, well, I want to go with these, I think Dog the Bounty Hunter and others are involved. Hey, good for them. I'm glad they're involved. They're not here. They haven't been on this from the very beginning. They haven't seen all that's been done. I think the more people involved, the better. But I'm not here to slam anyone. And I'm certainly not here to say, well, I don't buy law enforcement. I'm just going to go along with some guy says on social media. It's not the way to do it. And I think that's born out of frustration that we're all feeling right now, and we wish it could be solved. Let me tell you this. No one is more frustrated and disturbed by the situation with Sebastian, aside from his family, of course, than law enforcement. They desperately want this solved. And I can tell you right now, District Attorney Ray Whitley would love it if this case turned criminal and that there was a suspect brought before them. He would be ready to prosecute and go after them immediately. But that gets to this other point about some of the things that I wanted to hit on that is new. And then I'm going to look at your comments and try to answer what I can. Okay. But look, I've talked to them. This is not a criminal investigation. Okay, somewhere where he was in a dumpster for some reason and got carted away, even though they have searched a landfill. I don't know. I'm as at loss as anyone else. So in the absence of all else, do you think there's a possibility he was grabbed or abducted? Absolutely. And law enforcement will acknowledge that is a distinct possibility. Evidence of that. They don't see anything. Trust me, if there was some inconsistency or some evidence or something that pointed to any one of Sebastian's family members, they'd nail him and hope that they could break and crack him, and then Ray Whitley would prosecute. Evidence might not surface as this continues. But as we speak here right now, evidence of that. And if you're tuning in here hoping to hear some new revelation, the sad fact is here we are a year later, okay? And still talking to all of those who are close to this case, they are no further along in terms of any new leads. In fact, I'm told now the tips and the calls that had been coming in on 1-800-TBI-FIND have really pretty much slowed to a trickle. There just hasn't been much. I'll say that the law enforcement screwed up the investigation since day one. Really? How? Were you there? I was there. I was out there. How did they screw it up? Tell me how law enforcement screwed this up from day one. Please, someone explain. I'm telling you what they tell me. That's all. I'm not keeping anything from you. Again, in the vacuum of no information on what happened to him, I can understand in this day and age with social media how things explode. And I'm on social media here myself right now. But I'm going to stick to the facts as best I can and try to answer the questions that you may have. And I'll do the best I can. You may not like my answers, or you may not agree with what I say, and that's fine. I think that's the case. You're feeling as sad and frustrated about this as I am. I'm just trying to be as fair and as impartial as possible. So I'm not looking at it. It's an active case. And so that's what I have for you. And I wish I had more to share with you. I know so many people are following this story and have strong emotions and feelings about it. And I'm with you. And if some of you are angry or you don't understand or you don't agree with me, that's okay, because what we're talking about, and I think regardless if there's disagreements, we all are coming from the same place, and that is hoping and praying that somehow Sebastian is found alive somehow and can be returned to his family. That's my goal. I have no, for people who say, well, Nick, you're just going along with law enforcement. Oh, Nick, you don't follow. I have no dog in this fight. No one tells me what to read. It's just heartbreaking to me. I try to think of other cases. Summer Wells, of course, comes to mind. That's the tragic case out of East Tennessee. And that little girl has never been found whatsoever that anyone close to him had any involvement in what happened to him. So what else could have happened? He could have wandered off. A private investigator, a couple of local media outlets, I think, ran with it. I don't know if they ran with it before they talked to law enforcement, but law enforcement said they had that video since 72 hours after the boy disappeared. They had already vetted it. The district attorney told me straight up, Nick, there is nothing to this. It is of no evidentiary value. It is not a big break in the case like someone reporting.
Mention, I do think it's interesting. He talked to the district attorney, Ray Whitley, says he's ready to prosecute if they have a case. Then he mentioned Ken Widener, EMA. Does anybody know who Ken Widener is? And then, of course, Eric Craddock. And then he said he had talked to TBI. That was kind of some of the people he spoke to before this. For anybody that kind of missed the first part, so I'll just kind of recap. The only thing that I find a little concerning is he says that the tips have slowed down to a trickle. So that is a little concerning.
Let's see. What else do we have here? I have a pic of an email. And he's saying, in fact, it is, look, whatever. Believe what you want to believe, okay? If you want to believe it's a criminal investigation, it changes nothing, okay? There's no suspects. There's no evidence. So believe it. If you believe it's criminal investigation, then that feeds the narrative that, yes, clearly someone had to take Sebastian because he wouldn't disappear on his own, which, frankly, I'm inclined to agree with you. It's unlikely that he just disappeared on his own. Someone else had a hand in this.
There you go.
But there's no evidence of it. Without evidence, you can't call it criminal, okay? So who's lying? I mean, why does someone have to say, oh, someone's lying? No one's lying. No one is lying. You think there's some mass cover-up because they don't want Sebastian found? Get a clue. The video you're about to see is from early Monday morning, February 26th, around 3:10 a.m. Now, there are no street lights in the Stafford Court neighborhood, so it is at night, pitch black. What you will see here are these 2 points of light, believed to be people with flashlights,
in the area around Sebastian Rogers' Hendersonville home. It is believed Sebastian left his home barefoot and with a flashlight sometime overnight. Since his disappearance, authorities have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues.
We have had several clips that have come in.
And this one is getting the most attention, showing signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. You see two light sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference, the security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home in a common area. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame. Then, subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1 off screen. It's a short time later, and it's very vague, but then you see one of the subjects moving quickly back through the common area, and that is it. I know, there's not much to see here. You certainly cannot identify anyone, but those close to the investigation tell me the mere fact that there is now evidence that someone is in the area around Sebastian's home is significant. This video shows suspicious activity in the immediate area the night Sebastian disappeared. Could one of these subjects have been Sebastian? Did he meet and leave with someone? Sebastian's father says his son would not go with a stranger.
It's up in the air for me because I don't think he would get into a vehicle with somebody unless he knew them.
So what exactly are we seeing here? I know investigators are doing what they can to try enhancing the video for any more clues. For now, this video is now part of the Sebastian Rogers missing person file, and I'm told it could become more significant depending on where the ongoing investigation leads. We'll be following that. Nick Barris, News Channel 5.
From law enforcement, we'll take a look at the latest, break down the timeline, and take a look at the search as we investigate the mysterious disappearance of Sebastian Rogers.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And where is Sebastian Rogers? Where is he? This case, it's as if he just disappeared and vanished. But that doesn't happen. That can't happen. That's impossible. It doesn't work that way. Either something happened to him and someone did something, or he left the house, or someone broke into the house and took him, a 15-year-old. But something had to happen here, yet a month into this, it seems like the public, the family, everyone's kind of clueless as to what happened here. How does a 15-year-old just vanish like that? Who's at home with his mom? How does that happen? It doesn't make sense to me that there wouldn't be some level of some obvious clue, whether it's something happening in the house or something happening before they came back to the house, or evidence that he left. Whether he ran away or was going to meet someone, or if there was some text message or something on his phone, but like none of that. None of those obvious things that we see in so many cases. As we saw in the Madeline Soto case, became very obvious very quickly. Like this one, no. It's the same day Madeline Soto went missing. But you look at what people are saying, and I'm listening, and it's like, okay, he's gone, but that doesn't just happen. People don't just vanish. Now, what we're hearing from law enforcement is that all the parents are cooperating. You know, his mother and father aren't married anymore. His mother is remarried, so he has a stepfather, and law enforcement is reporting that everyone's cooperating. No one's like lawyering up. No one's shutting down. So to whatever that means, to that extent, there's no seeming pushback at all, that there's a level of cooperation, which is huge, which is important, because every investigation begins with those who are closest to the victim. the one who's missing here. And you've got to understand and investigate them and get information from them. That information is most crucial in all of this. So, mom and stepdad cooperating. However, stepdad's got to go back to work, so he left the area, and mom has now left the house as well to be with him working out of town because of the type of work he does. Meanwhile, his father is searching, going out there and literally looking for his son. And it's been a month. That's a long time. This disappearance began the same day as Madeline Soto. And you think about the two cases where we are in one versus the other. And the longer it takes, the more worried you get that they're not going to be able to figure this out, not going to be able to find him. I mean, could he have like tiptoed out and is hiding somewhere or running away from something or exploring or doing something? You don't just vanish. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. There has to be something that can lead to what happened here. So today we got an update from investigators. And you listen to the information, and whenever you have one of these updates, and they do it because there's pressure on investigators. They know how big the story is, how big the case is. They know how desperate family members are and the community, and people want to help, and people are looking for information. And there's also the factor of by speaking, you put it back into the news cycle, and Sebastian's face will be, once again, in places all over the internet, on television, and other places. So I want you to take a look and a listen to this, and there's a little bit of new information in there, but there are some important things that were said today. It wasn't the longest press conference, but it was significant. Let's take a listen.
Sebastian has been missing since late February. The investigation remains ongoing with steadfast support from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, and many other local sources. We are exploring every lead that comes in and every tip that comes in. Nothing would make me happier than to wake up tomorrow morning with a tip that cracks this case wide open and we find Sebastian and bring him home.
The parents have been cooperative throughout at the beginning of the investigation. They have pretty much done whatever law enforcement has asked of them. At this point, we don't have any evidence. There is not any kind of an indication that there is a criminal element involved. But we are keeping options open. We don't know what has happened. We don't know where Sebastian is right now, so we are pursuing any and all avenues. We do want to caution there are some social media elements out there who purport to have information that is direct from the investigation. I just want to reiterate that is not the case. Some of the information that is being provided on some of the social media channels is inaccurate, incomplete. We don't want this to damage the investigation, so we would just caution anyone who is following the case to just use some caution as to what you see and what you believe.
There were some glasses found in the past few days.
Have you been able to identify that they were Sebastian's?
We are still investigating.
Do you believe he's still alive? And what are you guys going to continue working on?
My hope and prayer is that Sebastian is still alive, yes. We're going to continue to work on this investigation and follow up every tip and lead that comes in. Some of this may revert back to us going over some things that we've already done for the 6th, 7th, or 8th time. A fresh set of eyes never hurt anything. We're work to find Sebastian. Let me put it to you like this. If my kid was missing, this is the team I'd want on it. The men and women of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, the FBI partners, the other local agencies, the Secret Service, everyone who's had a hand in this case is doing everything they can to find Sebastian.
From that first, social media. Social media is important to keep the story in the news, keep Sebastian's face in the news. There's a downside. There's a yin and a yang to everything. There are some on social media and who may report things that are not factual for whatever reason. Bottom line, you keep his face in the news. That's important when someone is missing and they have no idea what happened. You heard him. We have no idea. We don't know what happened to him. We haven't seen anything criminal that would lead us that way. I get that, but he like vanished? Like he didn't take his phone, he just ran away? It doesn't make sense. It's not sitting well with me tonight. Like just vanishing. It doesn't work that way. So, joining us from Nashville, Tennessee, reporter with Scripps News Nashville, Nick Barris is with us, covering the story unlike anyone else and unlike any other station or organization on this one. Nick, great to see you again tonight. How would you describe where this investigation is? I see this as a mystery. It's baffling to me. Is this a criminal investigation? Is this a missing persons investigation? How is this? Is there an ongoing search?
Yeah.
What is this? What is this right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Vinny, I agree with you and your take on this. My take is they say that there is no sign of any foul play at this point, but they are not ruling it out. And I couldn't agree with you more that a child does not wander off on their own and simply vanish without any trace unless someone else is involved. That's my take. But they say at this point, parents, everything they've done with them have been vetted, and that they're not considered suspects at this point, and they've cooperated, no one else. But they also were very pointed today. There have been some reports saying, oh, well, the parents have been cleared. No, wrong. No one, according to Eric Craddock, who is the chief deputy with the sheriff's department who's leading this investigation, has been cleared. No one has been cleared. They consider all options, and I would say right now it continues to be somewhat of a search, but they're waiting for more tips to come in. And frankly, just like you and I think authorities are frustrated and befuddled.
So, and that's a great distinction, right? Cooperating versus does not equal cleared. Cooperating does not equal cleared. So that's because they don't know what happened. How could you clear people if you don't know what happened? It makes no sense to me. Makes no sense, right? So describe for us the house he was living in, the neighborhood he was living in, the geography, the topography, the population, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. This is I'd say an upscale neighborhood, very nice homes. He lived in a nice home, a neighborhood residential like anyone else. It's a typical residential neighborhood, nothing out in the country off alone. Neighbors all within close proximity, some common greenways in between. What's interesting about this neighborhood, as upscale and nice as it is, there are absolutely no street lights, okay, or sidewalks. And so at night, that neighborhood is pitch dark. And so one of the questions many people had was, why didn't any of these homes, many of which have security cameras, Ring cameras, why did none of them seem to pick up any video of anything that night? Almost anything. And I will say I was one reporter. I'm the only reporter so far to have aired what was some video from a nearby home capturing what appears to be lights, possibly flashlights, in the proximity of the home the night he disappeared. Now, law enforcement, not long after I aired that, one, contacted me asking me where I got it, and I cannot reveal my source. And second, said that at this point, there's no evidentiary value to that video. Well, today in my interview, and by the way, you showed some of the press conference or news conference, I had a chance to sit down one-on-one for a good period of time just with Eric Craddock, he and I. And he said at this point, no evidentiary value to that video I had that shows that you see here what appears to be some lights, possibly flashlights outside the home. But he says that's the way it stands right now. And depending on what develops, that video and those lights could become more important to the case depending on what they learn moving forward.